All right. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you found some time out of your busy schedule. I know you've got a lot of things on the go. But Alexa Tipper, physiotherapist extraordinaire, entrepreneur, and new to hunting, right?
Yeah.
So we've got lots to talk about. Like I said, we're glad to have you on the show. Now you know these get aired on our YouTube channel, and you're no stranger to YouTube. I did see a YouTube. Geez, it was probably 12 years ago. One of your workouts with John
CrossFit.
Ball,
Yeah.
CrossFit
And Lucas
training.
Prue. Yeah. We did like Lucas Prue, John Ball, if they were coaches, I guess. And the high school's so good with CrossFit there, especially ball running things, right? And so he got me into the open there, the CrossFit Open. He had a few of us team. I guess it was girls and guys, like 2 and 2, and that was grade 10.
So you're an MSS alumni, right? Manitoulin Secondary School.
Born and raised here.
Born and raised. That's awesome.
Yeah, Mindamoya.
And so you went to CMPS.
Yeah.
And then you went to MSS as well. Mm-hmm. I coach with Tina, so John's wife. They're great. They're great teachers and great people. Yeah. Their
hilarious
kids
too.
are phenomenal athletes, and they're Islanders, true and true.
Yeah,
right?
it's awesome. Sure. Yeah, the high school's super lucky to have them. And
MSS for the size of the school, so it's a single A school. Mm-hmm. And we're drawing on a population of about 10,000 people. A school of 500 kids, or just under 500. It's quite amazing what they can accomplish in terms of their achievements. For sure. Not only in academics, but also in sports. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think it's a big part, a lot to do with the teachers and with the coaches that they have, whether they're within the school themselves or
kind of like the small knit community as well, where you know who your coaches are specifically. It's smaller teams, so you get a little bit more one-on-one time with the coaches as well, right?
Right. And it just seems like they're willing to go the extra mile. Mm-hmm. I know with me not being there, Tina runs lunchtime practices, and you're just getting touches, and the same thing with John and with his CrossFit, and he does basketball as well.
Jerry Holiday actually he started out with my age group. We had a group of really good girls just always doing all the sports, and especially for basketball we did pretty good in elementary school at CMPS. He actually followed us up into MSS. He retired from teaching overall, and then he followed us up, went all the way to grade 12. He'd come in for lunchtime practices, like 20 minutes, right? Just to be there to help us with shooting and such, like just come right into the gym, and then he'd leave, just coming in for 20 minutes, driving whatever, a half an hour,
making it a part of his day.
Exactly. So.
And I know Jerry from way back too, so and with running, I know he coaches a couple of runners as well, not only for the school, but like in their, I guess it's their rep teams, I guess, right?
Exactly,
going to all kinds of invitationals, and one of his running proteges, I guess, Marion Kazanet, she an officer caliber runner. I think she just accepted to a university in Southern Ontario. That's awesome. And she got an athletic scholarship to run for them.
She's a runner for sure. Like there's a lot of girls in that age group. I guess that your kids are kind of right.
Yeah, and the greens.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like, to go to OFSA with that team, like I think that, did they win, or they got like
in cross country
last year, like that?
Last year they won OFSA.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
like no wonder they're just so quick. They all look like just like they were built for long distance running. Their stride and their stride length is just it's neat to watch. The technical aspects of them when they're running, just so smooth.
And then the coaching, they really do put in the time, so kudos to that. And and maybe I was there as well, and had some really good coaches, but they they inspire us, and we become those student athletes, I think, that, like yourself, then pursues excellence, elsewhere. And you did that. You went into physiotherapy, but where did you go first for post-sec?
I went to Brock University.
Okay.
So I did 4 years there. I went there because kind of a small town vibe.
I did my teacher's college at Brock.
Okay,
so
awesome. Yeah, I loved it there. Like, I went to Western actually for OFSA in grade 10 track and field. And I was like, I want to go to Western for sure in my undergrad. Like, I was just blown away by how huge it was. When I revisited in grade 12, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know if I can live here.
Yeah.
And we went to Brock, and that was just like, I went with a friend. I just was like, oh, I'll check it out. It was one of my 3 that I added onto my application, and I just fell in love instantly because it's also part of the escarpment, right? It just reminded me of home, the hiking trails. Yeah. And so 4 years there, and then I ended up actually in the long run go to Western. So I did my master's degree there for physio for 2 years.
Now, you did a kin degree?
At
Brock.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just a general kin degree.
Now, you did your physiotherapy, which is now, it is a master's degree now, right? When you took it. And you work at Manitoulin Physio, right?
Yeah.
Great organization, so I hear.
Yeah. No bias at all for
no
you
bias
at all for
for
that.
me.
Yeah, it's awesome working there. I've been actually working with Derek since, when I was at Brock, my second year summer after that, I started as a student there, and he set up this like awesome student program for us. It was myself and Lucas Prue actually were working because he's a year ahead of me. He went to Mac Physio, and Derek set this up where we did one day with him, or maybe we did 2 days with him, a day with another physio in Little Current. He's no longer there. He moved to Ottawa. And then we did a couple days at the hospital, kind of seeing how that ran. And it was just awesome, like eye-opening. Again, small town opportunities, right? Like a lot of people didn't get that opportunity. So I've been working pretty much every year since 2015 with Derek. So.
Well, and it only makes sense when we're trying to solve the world's problems, if you will, and recruit people. I mean, it just makes sense to kind of grow that success from within. And I think that's why Derek recruits so hard, especially when he hears that he's got an Islander that may be thinking, physiotherapy or kin or chiro or whatever. I know he swoops in there to try and not only not make it easy, but allow for you to come home, right? And still enjoy the benefits of being professional and getting the professional development, because he usually has a pretty good program in terms of training that he's always applying for those kinds of dollars for you guys to boost your credentials, right? And your ability to help others.
He puts a lot back into education, and of course Derek's all about learning, continuous learning, right? If you go into physio, you kind of have to be, because there's always new research coming out. So you want someone who, someone who's going to help you fund that, because it can be expensive. I'm taking a course on senior exercises. As much as that doesn't sound exciting, it's a super
I
good
need
course.
that. Like, that's right up my alley. Because
I had my dad do some demonstrations. He's 66,
right.
And I was like, Dad, I need like an elderly person to I need to take videos of you exercising. He's like, okay. He was down for it.
That's awesome. And I know your dad well. And when because he did some work, or he worked at Chigging for a long time. So with the school, I knew Sean or I know Sean. So a physiotherapist. So, I mean, I think people don't understand how, not always anyway, how specific your training is and how in depth you guys go into the physiology of the human body. I mean, I've been to doctors, and I'm not going to bash on doctors here, but they're a GP, right? They're a general practitioner.
They have a lot to look at
cover,
and to learn,
right?
So they can't specialize necessarily in MSK like we do. Like, we look at the way that your wrist joint is rolling, like the bones in your wrist joint, right? Or the radius, the ulna, how those are rolling on top of the other bones. Like we have to know literally the physics of how that is moving in there, right? Like you can't fit that into med school necessarily, but it's just, you know, there's so many classes on looking directly into the body, what's happening, even in the undergrad to get to where you can apply to physio, right? You need at least, I think it's like 3 physiology courses. I think I took 8. I love physiology. I love like looking into the body, seeing what's happening, seeing how it works, right? But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, because the master, I mean, kinesiology in itself, right? You're getting, like I said, physiology, anatomy, looking at the systems, how they work as well, in terms of, because some people who go into kinesiology are going to go into med school, right? So you have to kind of get those basics down. And then when you get into physio school, it's like 2 years, no summers, right? So it's not like it's 8 months on, 4 months off. It's like
it's continuous
all year long, basically.
Right.
Yeah, there's like, we maybe get a month off here and there, but we're on placement or doing school either way, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just so much to learn in those 2 years. And then, like we just chatted about, we continue, like every year, it's mandated by our profession to continue to learn. We have to have those learning opportunities and seek them, because if the college comes to audit us, they have to see that we're continually learning, right?
Right. And so when you take it, like, it's super competitive to get into physio now. I mean, some of the kids that are applying, they need, you know, a 90 plus average to even to get into kin. I think at Mac it was like 93.
Or something like that.
Some ridiculous
from high school.
You know what I mean?
I had over 90, but I think like 85 to 90 for sure to get into kin from high school. But physio is like hardcore, and a lot of people don't understand that either. Like it's like I tried so hard to get into physio. From year 1 to year 4, that's all I was thinking about, is like, you're really looking at your GPA there, right?
And boosting
like,
your resume with volunteer and this.
If I didn't get in with Derek, honestly, like it's super hard to get in down south, to get in with any physio clinic, because everyone's looking for that opportunity. There's thousands of kin students, right? Looking for that opportunity, because a lot of them want to go into physio, right? And so to get that experience, it's super hard. So it's awesome that Derek pretty much always takes on his students. So.
Yeah, it is. It's great. And you know, they've branched out. I mean, I think some physios do acupuncture and stuff like that.
Yeah, I did the MAC acupuncture.
Okay, nice.
So I have that. Yeah, Derek had Justin and I don't know if you've met Justin. I mean, he lives down here. Yeah. We did that together during COVID. It was kind of funny to go back and forth, and Justin and I like
you have to kind of shoot the needles from like darts, because you know, whatever the safe distance is.
It was some interesting social distancing to get acupuncture needles into someone. So
well, that's a great qualification to have, because I mean,
I love it. Yeah.
Some people really respond well to that kind of treatment.
You completely get a new look at the body again, because I mean, when you're in school, like, you've got so many different classes, right? That even though you're doing anatomy, it's like, okay, I'm cramming in anatomy while I'm also cramming in cardio-resp and just in general, like seniors or whatever, you know, all of those things are coming together. But with the acupuncture, you have to really learn exactly, I would say more so than even in our university master's level anatomy courses, because you're putting in a needle and you're trying to get into an exact structure of the body, right? You're trying to get right near that peroneal nerve in the leg, or you're trying to get into a space between 3 muscles where it creates a triangle or something like that. So you really have to get your palpation skills good. You have to be able to really look and say, yep, I know what's under the skin there, right?
So, and I know with privacy and everything, you can't disclose obviously health information, but I've seen some social media where people, they're like getting a tattoo or whatever, and they're fine with needles, or they say they're fine with needles, but they pass out. Yeah. Right. Now, I would assume, or I would think that that's a common practice.
Not as common as you think it is. No, because always ask first. I'm like, how are you with needles? If
Yep.
they say I'm gonna faint, then I say not, like, it's
Yeah.
the risk versus reward. I
Right.
am not
We're
gonna
not doing
poke
it
you,
today.
right? Like, we don't need to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
So it's not
I've had acupuncture done, and I find afterwards it, like, the effects last for hours afterwards. Like, it feels like it's still there. You know what I mean? And I guess that's probably, it's working, right? It's
like stimulating the area, right?
Right.
So blood flow, we're stimulating endorphins in the area. So if you're thinking about it, like, we're making a difference in a specific spot, and the nervous system is really kind of almost turning on in that area a bit more than in the other areas, right?
Yep.
So even like your brain's ability to say, okay, which part am I going to focus on a little bit more right now, right?
right.
When after you get acupuncture, there's lots of really good endorphins flowing through there, lots of blood flow going through. Your brain's automatically going to kind of be thinking about that and thinking about memories and thinking about realistically, what just happened there, because we're really stimming up that nervous system.
It's healing itself, right? It's using the body's own healing.
That's what I like
ability.
to explain to people in kind of not using physio jargon and such, as we're trying to elicit a natural healing response of what would happen if it was like 5 minutes after you just sprained your ankle, because a lot of those things, even though we have inflammation, we see that as bad. That's actually good. We're not necessarily bringing in inflammation, but we're bringing in all that blood flow, right? We're bringing in kind of all of those white blood cells that try to clean everything up and repair things, right? But also having that effect on the nervous system is really the biggest part. So
take me through a typical day in the life of a physio. I mean, like, I know when I go for my sessions at the clinic for whatever is ailing me, whether it's a massage or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a hustle bustle there. Like, it's a hive of activity. People are going in this door and out this door, and
So to be honest, actually, just this last year in March, it'll be a full year, I've gone fully home care.
Okay.
So the hustle is for sure. So I did clinical work, and then 1 day of home care when I started off. I took over Caitlin's position when she headed out. I basically headed into the center there, and I did 1 day of home care in Wiki. But I really liked it, because what I went into physio for was not necessarily the same reason of saying, oh, I had this injury and it got healed and I want to be a physio. It was my grandfather. I don't know if do you know who my grandfather was? He was the vet, Dr. Tipper on the island. Okay.
We took probably our first 12 dogs to Dr. Tipper.
Yeah, nice.
Like, you know what I mean? Then the other 12 we took to the other vets.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he kind of transitioned mostly into cows there, but so he unfortunately got a stroke at the end of his life, and he was so stubborn. He wouldn't go to physio, but we knew he needed it, and could see, a lot of things could have opened up for him in those last 5 years if he had someone to kind of show him how to use his new body, basically, right?
Right.
And then his wife, so my grandma Tipper, Marion, she unfortunately got ALS at the end of her life, and she actually lived with that for, I think it was like 10 years, if not more.
Jeez, that's a long time.
Yeah. And so that was tough to kind of see that as well. But tough in a way that it made me want to do more, right?
And help people
right?
with.
Yeah, exactly. And especially when they were at home, because my grandfather was absolutely not going to go anywhere but his home, right? And my grandma it didn't work out at the nursing home. She really would, and Dad's a nurse, right? So we could kind of swing it where she was at home. And it's just a lot for a family to kind of deal with in a way. And it's nice to have people around you that know what they're doing, right? And to kind of guide you in what can you do in this situation. So it's not I'm now fully in home care, right? And a lot of the time it is these situations where someone's had a stroke, they're now at home and they can't use their home in the same way they did before, right? So what equipment are we going to get them that's going to help them kind of still live their day-to-day, that makes them happy and makes them functional in their day-to-day? But also keeping people moving in their homes, right? Like a lot of people don't have, think of the winter
accessibility.
time.
Darcy, my oldest, who goes to McMaster, she broke her ankle this summer on a sea-doo and needed right before she went to school. And they were planning Frosh Week, right?
Yeah.
She was part of their she's a co-chair on their Indigenous health.
Cool.
And but she couldn't put any weight on it yet because she had to have surgery. And so she just came out of surgery, and then she went to go plan Frosh Week and be up on her feet and whatever.
Yeah.
And they gave her a wheelchair, and it was such an eye opener for her, right? And frustrating.
You know what they did at
To have no accessibility, like this place, even at Mac, which is the cutting edge.
Absolutely.
For a kid,
it's
if
so
someone
hard.
had a disability, she couldn't access anything. It was amazing.
We had at school in physio, one of our assignments was we were given a disability that we had to
navigate the world
the world with it.
Really?
So mine was, I had to be in a wheelchair. I had a thoracic spinal cord injury, so I also didn't have use of my lower limbs at all, right?
At all,
and,
so you couldn't...
and I lived with two other physios and 2 OTs, occupational therapists. And so my other physio friends also had this assignment. We weren't letting each other, we weren't going to come home and then walk up the stairs. You know what I mean? We were going to help, and we helped each other. We would do a transfer of us up the stairs to get in. Yeah. But it's super, just like Darcy said, right? It's so eye-opening to get on the bus to get to school, right? You think, oh yeah, buses are accessible, right? It took 10 minutes with my 2 friends helping. Of course, we weren't experienced. I was in the wheelchair, right? Get the wheelchair hooked in. The driver had to I felt a little bit bad because we were, the driver didn't know that we were, and all the other people on the bus, but it's still an experience, and it's good for them to see too. Oh, this is what I need to do when someone who's in a wheelchair gets on, right?
It's
I need to move out of
and
here.
It informs them.
Let's help. Maybe next time someone's going to help the bus driver, move the seats around like it needs to get to, right? But also just kind of the social element of saying, I'm in a wheelchair, how are people perceiving me and such? And it's obviously nothing like what we can't even come close to what someone who has an injury would really be experiencing. But it gave us just that tiny glimpse in. But an
eye opener for sure. Yeah. So then if you're doing home care, so your visits then are a little bit, I guess they'd be a little bit more stretched out, right? So you're not in 15 minutes. 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Right. Because you're also going into someone's home. You're not going to rush them, right? Yeah. You're kind of... it's a lot more personal going into someone's home in a way, even though in the clinic someone's coming to see you, right? Yeah. They're allowing you to come in, right? And they're allowing you to see their kind life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm going to people's bedrooms. I'm going into their bathrooms to look at how we can make it a bit more accessible and stuff. And so it does need to have a little bit more time also just for the communication aspect of it, right? I like to really explain what we're going to do. Why am I doing this? Why am I peeking my head into your bathroom? Going over the different elements of what we can do for equipment for them and practicing a transfer for, I see people who have just come out of the hospital a week ago or rehab, and they just became a double amputee all at once, right? Right. The last time they were in their house, they had both of their legs, and now they have a below knee and an above knee residual limb, right? Yeah. And so that's a big task to say, it's one thing in the hospital to have aides there to help you with these I'm saying help, a physio has a PTA, right? An assistant to help you do these transfers with clients. And you've got these nice hospital beds that have the guardrails. And
we're coming into chains and whatever you need in the right spot.
Think of your bed that, I don't know what your bedroom looks like, but do you have a high bed? Do you have a low bed? Imagine just coming out of the hospital with 2 residual limbs and having to be how am I going to get into my bed right now, right?
Or even, how do I get this chair in the door? Because a lot of places, especially,
lip. Yeah.
Right? They can't get in the door, or the door's too narrow, or the hallway.
I want to go into some communities and go into their meetings for housing and be can we just make everything across the board accessible? Let's not make this lip, because this lip could take 4 weeks to fix because of the, the wait times
Structural
and such,
piece
right?
and the
like,
parts,
let's just get it in. So, so I actually only go into the indigenous communities of the island. So going in from Debassige all the way to Birch Island and in between. So, but it's interesting. Got to see the island too, right?
Lots of travel.
Yeah.
So that Birch Island to Shish, that's about an hour and a half at least, maybe even more.
Sure. Yeah.
In the winter,
takes
that's
like
almost
an
a
hour
2-hour drive.
Yeah. I wouldn't on a single day go from
you're
from
gonna
there
stay
to
at all
the other. It is all one health community there in Manitoulin, but I would I tend to do a West End day, right, for that day. But I'm usually 3 days a week. I'm heading out to Wiki just because of the population wise, right?
So now, do you find that home care piece? Is that your niche?
I definitely love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally would say that I like that the best because it's getting to why I wanted to become a physio, right? Like it's literally encompassing all of what I just chatted about with my grandparents. And I just really, I'm a chatter, if we haven't already picked that up. So like just having that communication skill where that's probably the most important part of being a physio, but especially when you're being welcomed into someone's home and they're in a state where they're like, can you help us the best that you can? And you're kind of seeing into their life and you have to respect that people are allowing you to look right in, right? So,
and I mean, you're going to see them at their worst, right? I mean, I think a lot of times in especially today in social media or when you're presenting yourself at the grocery store or in public, you're way less vulnerable than you are, in your own home. And if you're incapacitated in any way, then you're even more vulnerable, right? Because you've got not only the physical part of your medicine wheel that's compromised, you also have the emotional piece as you're coming to grips with this new, way of living or new way of being, and a new body or new condition, whether, it is a stroke or whatnot. And you not only have to be a good communicator, I think you have to be, and have that emotional intelligence. It's really important that you have a good understanding of other people's comprehension, because communication is one thing, but comprehension is everything.
Exactly.
Right. And so you do have to give it more time and
for sure. And I mean, that comes in hand with, you're an educator, right? You know what that's like between kids. One could, you could be talking to one classroom about the exact same thing, and that it's going over one child's head, right? And the other one's completely getting 100% of what you're saying. And when we go into adulthood, we also have to look into that as well of, a lot of these folks as well in Wiki, I really admire that they've kept the language going, right? And I chat to a lot of first, their first language is the language, right? And they've got either a translator, like their daughter or their granddaughter there, and just that, like trying to figure out how can I say something that would be the easest translated,
right?
Or,
that's going to be in English that has to be interpreted, and translated into an Anishinaabewan or Ojibwe, right? And then for that message to be relayed through somebody,
exactly,
right? That's it's not an easy task.
So it's interesting, but
Good for
I like
you.
that. It's a lot of problem solving and that it's just a different type of thinking than in clinic. I mean, you're always problem solving, but definitely different problems, right? So, they usually come with a diagnosis as well. They're coming to the hospital, right? So it's not as much diagnosing. It's more so, how are we going to solve this problem of not being able to transfer into our bed that's
right
here right now, right? So
and good on you for doing that and for really having a passion to understand what your voice is, which is helping others, but also helping the older population because of your relationship with your grandparents. So that's great, and solving problems is definitely a strong suit for you, because you know, when you're starting a new business, right? Because you're not only a physiotherapist, but you and your partner. Congratulations, by the way. I don't think I said congratulations to you and Les.
Yeah, thank you.
I know I did to Les because I bought one of the tables.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
From your wedding.
Nice. Yeah.
But you guys started a business that's wrought with problems because it depends on the weather, right? And the soil and the whatever.
Yeah.
So tell me about the flower farm. Now I've been there, so I know a little bit.
Oh, nice. I don't know if you'd been there or not yet.
What does that entail, owning a flower farm?
So we jumped into that in 2021, so kind of midst of COVID, right?
Oh, and COVID. So you started a new business.
Yeah.
Right, on top of full-time jobs.
We were like, outdoor business, right? When all the mandates were going on, and thinking, what can we do for people that would bring joy outside? And also, I loved gardening. I had, this is kind of funny because I had only gardened like myself hardcore for 1 year, and I was like, I got to do this more, and then I decided to open up like a 2-acre garden, right? It's like, okay, big jump, but we own it with we co-own it with one of my best friends growing up and her husband, Cassie Wilson and Nassim Noor are their names, and it's interesting teamwork and a different type of problem solving, right? Because Cassie's into marketing, like that's her full job.
Right.
Nassim's an accountant, so they kind of do a lot of that side of things. Right. Les and I take on a lot of the garden. I mean, we all help in different ways for every part, right? Like Cassie and Nassim come over a lot too to do the gardening throughout the summer, but a classic day in especially May, June, July, because we haven't figured out how to get our flowers. We do annuals every year where we're planting the seed, right? We don't have a lot of perennials yet.
Right.
We come home from our jobs. We all work full time still. It's probably 5:00 by the time we're home, right? We don't eat dinner. We immediately get into our gardening clothes, run to the back of the farm because we live obviously on the farm there, you've seen. And like I said, May, June, when that sun is up until like 10 p.m., we're truly working sometimes till 9:30 p.m.
Oh, you're making hay. The sun's shining, you're making hay.
Les is out there like on the barbecue. We're barbecuing things. That's like our main dinner source is what can we barbecue tonight while she's kind of doing something with the tractor and then looking and flipping burgers and coming back. And luckily we have a ton of support from family. Like, I mean, Roslyn and Gail, Leslie's parents own the sawmill here, right? So we've got a pretty good source for mulch there and wood to build. And they've just got a lot of knowledge for just building structures and such. The bridge we had to do and the shed, that was kind of opening. We're like, let's build a shed. And kind of the team came on, the Taylor team, I would say. Yeah. And then the bridge, my dad and Leslie and Cassie's dad helped with that one and figuring out kind of this big bridge that they were like, oh, we'll just make it flat. I was like, oh no, we're doing an arc bridge. I was like, we're not doing the easy way here. We're calling in some engineers. I had I had a lot of say in it. I had no hands on the ground building that bridge. I was doing the gardens, but it takes a lot. I mean, like you said, the weather, the last few years, everyone's chats about how much rain there is in the summer. And I'm like, I will disagree with you.
Yeah, not last year.
No. And even the year before that, it started, maybe it wasn't, I'm trying to do the years by, the first year we opened, it was no rain whatsoever for May, June, July. And then as soon as we opened in August, just downpour. We had floods everywhere. Like our flowers were starting to get like the rots that some of them can get, like the root rots. And I was like, where was this when we were trying to grow? Because in our first year, we didn't have a pump yet. And Derek, when Derek heard we didn't have a pump, he's like, let me find a friend that has like a gas pump we can help you with. We eventually got one, but we were literally going, you've seen that big ditch that we have, right? I call it the creek, but it's realistically an irrigation ditch. But, we were going down that. It's about 10 feet and really steep with 2 watering cans, like just like you'd see in the front yards of everyone, filling it up and then like double,
hiking it back.
Like farmers carry up the hill and then emptying it out. And this is 2 acres, like,
Yeah, no.
And we still do that when we haven't found a good way. This is like our number one problem solving for this year, is figuring out how can we water these little itty bitty plants coming up, because we have a fire hose for when they get bigger, but the fire hose completely demolishes them.
Blasts them away.
Like, so we're still figuring that out. But
what is, or who is your typical clientele? So you have annuals, right? You've got you plant them all, and then you've got, I don't know, like daffodils, roses. What do you have?
So those would be perennials.
Okay,
right?
I don't
things
know
that,
anything about flowers, because
so those are things that are going to come back like every year, which are awesome, and we need to get more of those. They're just a bit more expensive, and kind of permanently setting down a garden is something we need to figure out for landscaping and stuff.
Right.
And I mean, we work full-time jobs, so we just when we're like in the season, it's tough to make those like, let's look into next year, but that's part of owning a business, as you know, right? So we're trying to figure out how we can do that more, but we're literally putting like little seeds. So we do zinnias. Sunflowers are a huge one. Everyone loves the sunflowers.
So in a sunflower, though, what do they don't buy the sunflower, they buy the seeds, or what do they?
No, they buy the sunflower. So what they do is so people come on, and it's kind of, we call it like experiential tourism.
Okay.
So it's not really like the bouquet you're getting.
Okay.
And our prices reflect that, because if you were to go and get a bouquet at one of the other flower shops on the
carnations
island,
or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You might pay like $80 for one of those, because they've spent meticulous time. They've had to buy those flowers from not around here necessarily, right? And putting those into a big bouquet and selling that to you, where they put kind of their artistic flair on that. We're letting everyone else do their own artistic flair. So you come on and you pay $30. We've kept it at that since we opened. You get a jar, and we give you scissors, and we say, have at it for our 2 acres of flowers. And we try to have,
it's like a free-for-all.
It's a free-for-all. You can put whatever you want. And it's so amazing, because you see them leave and you like hear the laughter, and people are like really shy, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I should do one. And then they come back, they see like their friend or their partner doing one. And then we have people come back and be like, okay, I want to buy one too. And then they do their own bouquet. We have people who have like bouquets, like we always tell people, like, stuff it in. We don't want people like posting on social media like four flowers that you've got in. Like, $30. I paid $30 for this. It's like, stuff it full. We can put like 40 stems, so 40 flowers into a jar if you do it of layering it.
That's a good value then.
Oh, for sure. Flowers are really expensive because of the time and how meticulous they are to grow, right? They're actually, per square acre, they're the most expensive crop and the most valuable crop to grow. Right.
Makes sense.
Just because they're it's not, each one's different, right? So they all take different amounts of sun, different amount of water to perfectly grow, right? But,
so then what do they do with a sunflower? Like
you can put it right in the middle
with a great big sunflower?
No, you cut it. So you can cut, and the ones we have specifically are cut flower ones, because we have 12, 13 varieties of sunflowers, different colors, but a lot of them are smaller stems than what you would see for like a giant, the black flower seed sunflowers that a lot of people use.
That's what I'm thinking.
We have that too. We have a big field that we just started these last couple of years, and we're still trying to learn to get those growing really well too, but we just use the black sunflower seeds for that. But these other ones are really specialty seeds to make sure that they're easy to cut and that they last long in a jar, right? And so people can fit 5 of those in, and then plus put in 15 other flowers into this mason jar,
all for $30. And what does it, and so then a typical, a couple comes out, like a lot of date I think nights, Aspen did it for a date. And like, you know what I mean? Cool. They're going to, like, that's
kind of the typical, like our typical audience that we're looking for, like our
a date night or a date day.
People between the ages of 18 and 35. And
Jess, are you listening to this?
We have a lot of people that come back and like, there was a young couple that came back, and it was like their 4th date night, and they were like, we have to have a place that we can bring our kid to. They can, we let it, the kids can scream as much as they want. And they could, they had a new baby, and they loved coming back to it, which was awesome to see. But, like 18
Jesse's
to 35.
going to be your like favorite customer. He'll have 4 different, 4 different date nights.
I'll be like,
oh, single.
Yeah. So,
that's awesome. Like, cool. I wasn't really sure how that worked. I know, You do something in the fall, like for Halloween,
Harvesting.
and you got the harvest thing.
We do
and
pumpkins too.
Right.
Those things are. Someone told me, and it was a farmer, and he was like, if you can grow pumpkins, you can grow anything. And I don't know if I would say that I'm a farmer yet, because I can't really grow pumpkins that well. Like I feel like I'm exposing myself as like the flower and pumpkin farm owner, but like they're so hard to grow. I've got powdery mildew on mine like the last few years, because they need water, but if you give them too much water, they're going to get powdery mildew,
and then
right?
It's not only that, you not only have to worry about water and sun, you've got bugs and diseases.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, there was a guy on CBC, what was his name? He ran I don't even know if he still does it, but when I listened to it, it was usually around lunch. Was his name Black? Or I can't remember. But he would, I don't know if it was his voice that made me watch this show or listen to this show. But people would call in. It was a call-in show, and they would be having issues with their plants. Yeah. Right?
Makes sense. There's so many things. And he was
just like, oh, you know what? This is what it is. And take a blah, 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 and put some vinegar and whatever, and spray them, whatever. And you know what I mean? And it was just like, people were so appreciative of this help. Like his phone line was jammed for that 1 hour session.
I wish I had someone I could just like call instantly.
Yeah, you should put him on speed dial. Maybe I'll get you his number, and then you can just
I'm
like,
just like
Dude,
Redditing all of these things, like looking on Reddit, all of their the forums and such. A lot of people have really good advice, because it's not necessarily, you don't have to read a whole blog to get to the point of what people, they're like, this is what I do and it works really well, and then I try it out and see how it goes. And
now you have are you just doing the flower farm, or do you have any other crop, or are you in, because your farm has what, 100 acres or what?
Yeah, we have 100 acres. So actually so you came out and you took a peek at our farm for
I saw that big ditch, and it is a creek, and there's fish in there.
Yeah.
Right. So it is a creek. It's not just an irrigation.
I'll say it's a creek. Yeah. It's got life. It's got it's got a river otter living in it right now. So,
there you go. Creek it is.
Yeah. So we actually made a deal with a farmer who he's from Southern Ontario, but he's got a few pieces of land that he's bought up here for doing some crop harvests. Yeah. And we actually just signed a big lease with him for 50 acres. Yeah. Of it, and so there's winter wheat in there right now.
Winter wheat, even better.
So there's winter wheat that just got put in. Yeah. Oh, this fall he put it in. I'm trying to think. It was during goose season. Like Leslie's dad, Gail, is a big goose guy, right? And so we were taking a peek. The problem is we have like nothing around us to hide in, right? Because our farm's so open. It's Mindemoy, right? Mindemoy is just flat,
wide open.
So, the 50 acres, kind of, that back road by the flower farm, Crest Road. Yep. It's pretty much 50 acres there, and then where that 11 acres of bush is. So the opposite west end, that's about it's about 25 acres and 25 acres, because the other 50, so it's 50 acres in total. And that would have been great to have the winter wheat in for the geese this year, because you could hide in. I specifically asked them, because they really worked up the soil, and a point of it was that we don't have the tools to really work up that soil, and we wanted to get some more native plant, like grass species in it eventually. Right. We took the long way around and leased it out for a decent amount of time to this farmer. But I mean, in the end, we're going to have some pretty good worked up soil that we can plant whatever we want in it. Yeah. We also tile drained it. Do you know what that is? Yeah. So it's now drained.
We tiled the beach volleyball court here, so I can't imagine how expensive it is.
50 acres. Yeah.
Right, because that was expensive, and it was just like a court.
Yeah, so for the lease, he covered that, which is awesome, because that's the trade-off. But it would have been nice. That other side, it just had tons of rocks in it. And so they had a harder time working that up. So they couldn't get that planted this year. But it's going to be awesome, because I was getting to it. But the red willow, or the dogwood, I asked for like a decent amount to be left, because I want it to be kind of like a staging area for deer to be able to get out, and like a little bit of coverage for them to go from our mostly popular bush, right, to getting into these kind of dogwoods, and then being able to get into whatever crop he's doing, which he's going to do a rotation of beans, which will be awesome.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Not corn, because he doesn't think it's going to do well up here.
With the rocks, yeah.
Yeah, and just in terms of like the season,
Yeah.
they need you get a month more down south, so
Yeah.
he's going to keep his corn down there. Canola, and I believe buckwheat. So I'm trying to I think there was something else that I was excited about specifically, but I'll have to re-look at that. Maybe
Right.
even just hay or something. But so he'll do a crop rotation, but I'm really glad he's doing a cover crop to help with the soil, obviously, with winter wheat, I think almost, and then probably brassicas, because they, switching between winter
Yeah.
wheat and brassicas for the year for
Yeah.
keeping that
And deer
soil.
love that.
Yeah.
So that's going to be, well, it's good that you're, so you go hard all spring, with your physiotherapy, and then, and in the, the late fall, you save lots of people. Then you make lots of people happy for the summer, blossoming relationships, no pun intended, helping with date nights all, across
Betcha.
Manitoulin, and spreading the love. But then fall comes, because you need time in the fall, right?
It's like October 1st.
Yeah,
I'm like,
October
see it.
1st.
It's been tough. Like, the transition from going to the flower farm to hunting is perfect, because honestly, there's like no transition. We have our harvest day, where we have a big blowout of the pumpkins and kind of our last hurrah.
Yeah, come get your flowers, because I'm going hunting.
I'm literally like, and then we just like, the farm sits idle, and I wish that I could bring myself to do all the fall things I need to do for the garden, but I'm like, see ya, I'm doing stuff for hunting.
Yeah, no, you have to. Now, so you're relatively new to the hunting world, right?
Yeah.
And I know we've gone back and forth a lot on text, in terms of you're scoping out these big bucks, and you're trying to pattern them. Where are you in this battle?
Yeah.
Because you know what? It's for life, right?
Yeah,
this
for real.
Is a
I'm
lifelong
obsessed.
battle.
Like, ask Leslie, ask my mom. Like, my mom is like, where did you come from?
Yeah.
Like,
it's an addiction.
for sure.
That's all you can say,
and
is I'm an addict.
I kind of brought it up to you earlier when we were shooting the bows there of where I used to shoot pigeons and squirrels.
Yeah.
And I've really been reflecting this year, because I asked my dad, I was like, could you ever like imagine me being, because I absolutely love hunting. Like, it's my number one thing that I love to do outside of like, just as a pastime.
Yep. It's
if
a
you want
passion.
to call it
Absolutely.
a pastime, but a passion. Yeah. And I was like, could you imagine this? Because there was a time when I went like vegetarian, or I guess you would call it pescatarian. Like, I only ate fish. And then I kind of turned around in a couple years and went now I'm hunting my own food. But he's like, absolutely, because I remember you being whatever 10, I was probably like 9 to the range of 9 to 12 probably, and just obsessing over like a single squirrel for the summer, of like, how am I going to get it with my like close enough
bow.
range that I can get it with my bow, or with a little pellet like rifle gun, right? And he would say that I would like, sit and I'd think, and I'd run through like the patterning of where the squirrel was what trees did he like to run in the morning, where did he go in the afternoon, right? And it's
acorns
like,
are falling in about 15 minutes.
And
I need to be at a tree.
Exactly. And also with the pigeons in our barn, because if you've ever had a barn, you want to get rid of those pigeons that are, pooing on all of the hay that we want to feed our horses and stuff. And I would try to time, because they'd be, I would figure out like patterning pigeons, right? And seeing, they go out and they fly and they gather their food for a long time, and then they come back and they roost in the barn, right? So I'd have that time ready, because I'd be hiding in there for them. So he's like, it makes total sense. And it actually is like, has kind of turned into where immediately I'm like, I want to pattern certain gear and do exactly what I did with the pigeons and squirrel back when I was like 10 years old. Right?
Well, yeah. So you had the itch way back, from an early age, and you started. Have you harvested a deer yet?
Yes, I've got 3 so far.
Okay, and with your bow or with rifle or shotgun? Or how did you harvest them?
Yeah, 2 with rifle and 1 with my crossbow.
Okay.
So I just got that compound bow this year.
Now you just picked up a new bow from
Yeah.
Dennis at 10 Point Archery, which Dennis sponsors the show, and he puts us on the best gear. I love Dennis. That indoor range it's just awesome.
Cool.
I love going
just him
there.
like setting it up was like, I knew we got our crossbow from him too, and it was just like easy. We literally went in, you know how he's like running around, but he's running around, but he like does exactly what you need him to do. He like just whipping it together. He's like, this one would do, like this one would be good for you. And it's like instantly I could pull it up, because crossbows are hard when you're 5'5" and like trying to at end range get that clicked, right? And got that all ready for us, and just like same with the compound bow. I went in, I was like, this is what I want, this is my price range, like I'm gonna be hunting mostly whitetail with it. And he's like, oh, I've got a couple here that I'll let you try, but I think you're going to get this one. And absolutely, I got the one.
And he seems to know, right? He just seems to, you give him, and it is not only I'm going to dare say, like, it's artful watching him do it so quickly and putting those bows together and restringing it and putting in your peep and dialing it in. Like, when someone gives you a new bow and at 20 yards, he dials it in and you're hitting that black dot.
I shot it like 5 times and it was...
He makes you feel like a superstar, right?
It was like,
might be a sales
I don't even have to
thing.
move for this thing. Like, I just have to shoot it off. No. I'm actually going to bring Dane. Have you ever met my brother Dane?
Yeah. I met him.
So Dane has a compound bow that he got from used a few years ago, but it's just way too heavy for him. And he just needs a little bit of extra help. So I'm like, I know the guy, like, we're going to bring Dane to Dennis. And I think that it might be a challenge, but like, it'll be interesting to see how Dennis can help him out there.
So now that you're shooting a bear bow, right?
Species EV, What's
the draw on it? What's the poundage?
So it's 42 right now.
So completely deer legal. And I watched you shoot tonight, and you were dialed in, at the end especially. When there's a little bit of nerves involved. It's a new range and stuff like that. But what has been your experience with the bow? What are you liking?
I absolutely love it. Just like the feeling of a compound bow, the even practicing, like, just it's almost like a meditation in a way, right?
100%.
Like you're getting your deep breathing in, like just how you're saying, and just kind of like dialing in that square breathing, right? And it's just patterning going through, and it's awesome to do. I had a little recurve when I was younger and loved shooting that out just because it's fun to figure it out, right? And like it's fun to shoot it. I'm not like a huge gun girl. I like rifle season for sure, but like I'm not gonna get like joy from going out and shooting my rifle off. I just get it ready for the season, and I'm not like eager to go out, but like I almost like crave going out to shoot the bow. Like it's just such a cool feeling.
Well, I think there's so many pieces involved with actually pulling it off, and I have to be, especially for me with Fuel the Fire, I don't want to discriminate between any of the weapons we choose, the tools we choose to harvest animals, because I know when you post online, if you go on any forum and you say, I took it with a crossbow, or there's just all of this hierarchy of criticism and whatever, media, right? Social media craziness.
People hate crossbows.
They hate it, and I'm like, my thing is that, listen, like it's not fair. I'm hunting. Who said hunting's fair? Number one, right? Like if we're in this notion of thinking that it's fair, the only way that it would be fair is if they knew they were being hunted and they had a weapon. Like that. Exactly. That's the only way, right? And that's called war.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right?
And so, like, between people's, what you have available to you. Do you have 300 acres of private land versus someone who has absolutely nothing? Like maybe you're shooting with public a compound bow.
Or cost, or maybe, and I think so when we're when we eliminate all of that, and we start to look at a shot sequence of a compound bow, or even harder, like a recurve, right? Like it gets harder.
Yeah.
All of those pieces, it can go south in at any point, right? In terms of just your shot process, even and forget having a stepping into the life cycle of another living thing, which you're going to, try and harvest that animal for, like, that aside, right? Just the your shot process has, 15 steps that have to happen perfectly in order for you to put that
And feel
arrow in
comfortable.
the target, right? And that's at close range.
Exactly.
Right. And so you get all of these variables.
Yeah.
It's a huge science experiment.
Yeah.
And as a problem solver, right, this is probably part of it, and an outdoors person, and being an islander, which we live and breathe, the island, right? That island vibe. I think bow hunting is something that is meditative. It is for me, it is a form of therapy. I was telling you and Jess today that I'm back into that routine of a morning routine of coming into the office and up here in the studio, and before I come up, getting in a shot routine of 24, and just and it feels like you're in the zone, right? And you can focus better because it is a focus activity.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
It's like a life skills thing to say, can you also sticking to a practice, right? If you're getting ready for bow season, can you kind of carve out your schedule to say, no, I'm gonna shoot this off. I haven't had a season where I'm there yet, and it's gonna be during flower farm season, so I'm interested to see how I can, show my dedication and figure that out, and kind of have the self-discipline to do it, right? Life skill of slowing down, thinking about the breathing we just talked about with shooting as well, right? Kind of a bit of getting something perfect in a way, even though it's never going to be perfect, but striving towards that in a way too,
for sure.
Right? Like all of those things coming together, and then just like having another skill that's super interesting and neat to have, and unique.
It's like, unique, right?
Like just like chatting to someone at a party, or just like meeting someone for the first time. They're always really surprised that I like to shoot a bow, and it's kind of something cool that you can bring up and have a conversation with people about.
And for people that have watched the show, they, some of them have followed it for a while, and it took me forever to harvest a moose with my compound.
I watched
like
that episode,
and when I did, it happened so unlike how I planned, right? Like and I think it's important when you're thinking, okay, how am I going to get into the shot routine of with all of these, with your businesses and with your busy life, and I think it's important that you do practice and have that ability to say, you know what, my bow is on the deck, is on the porch, and I know that I've got, as I'm going from here, I'm going to do 5 shots, or I'm going to do 7 shots. I'm going to practice, you know what I mean, in those.
I was actually thinking too of even like bringing it back to the flower farm. You're like, I'm tired from whatever, I might be hoeing or bending over, and sometimes I just like need to take a break, not necessarily like physically 100%, but like just get out of the dirt for a second, right? And then I think that will be the perfect time to be like, I'm going to shoot off 5 arrows, right?
And you know what? And sometimes what I'll do, and because you think about it, you try and replicate the scenario, and so what I'll do is sometimes I'll only take 1 shot, right?
Because that's what counts in the end, right?
Because in that scenario of hunting, you get up in the morning, you're going pre-dawn, you're not shooting anywhere, you might be cold, right? You get out into the stand, you're whatever, and you might be sitting there for 3 hours, and you only have that 1 shot. So it's like practicing that scenario as well. You can prep in so many different ways, and I think it just makes you bow hunting, I always liken it to riding a motorcycle or racing motocross in terms of driving in general. So you can be a hunter, right? Or you can drive your car. But if you drive a motorcycle, you become way better at driving a car than because you're just way more aware, right? You know, of sounds, of smells,
Projectiles
of winds,
and,
of conditions, of whatever.
Yeah.
And the same thing applies to hunting.
Yeah.
You can hunt with a rifle and you know, God love you and all the respect to you if that's all you want to do. But if you become a bow hunter, right, you become a better hunter.
And also a better woods woman or woodsman, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, in my opinion, I mean, I haven't, in my opinion, of not hunting for that long, but to have those deer come so close to you, and, you know, I'm going to be definitely thinking I'm not going to put a shot off unless I'm saying this right now, but you know, 20 yards for my first year, I'm hoping that I can have the self-discipline also not to take like a 45-yard shot with just getting my bow this year. Right. But like the woodsmanship, because that's also something I absolutely love. I just like walking around and just like looking at the forest floor and
reading
seeing
terrain.
what I can do. Like, I just love going for walks in the wintertime, especially to see those tracks, right? What's the rabbit doing? Like, what kind of bush, like, why is it coming through here? Why is this like knee deep of rabbit tracks, right? And I've never hunted a rabbit, but it's just interesting to me to think of that, right? Like, why is this ecosystem having rabbits specifically liking the cedars here, where they're going to hop out of the spruce in this other ecosystem, you know, from Wiki to Providence Bay for, you know, looking at different terrains and such. But like with bow hunting too, something I really like thinking about is how can I get those deer close, which is a lot of what bow hunters like to do, right? And it's just like, I love watching animals and just seeing what they're going to do and guessing that, right? Like, I don't, even on my game cams, like, I like watching the does. Like, I have my does named on my, as corny as that is, but I'm like, you know what? Yeah. It's like, oh, what's she up to? Why did she do that today? Like, oh, that's weird. Right?
Oh, there's
like,
2 socks. Well,
exactly. Yeah. I had one named Pirate this year because she had a big chunk out of her ear. But like it's just kind of interest. That's why, honestly, I think that I'm super, super drawn to bow hunting, because again, I'm like, I obviously love shooting the bow as well too. Right. But it's almost more of the fact that I get to obsess more because I have a reason to obsess and say, no, I've got to watch these deer. I've got to see when they're going to be within 20 yards of a stand or where I'm setting up, or, you know, where should I be setting up? Because I've been doing a lot of ground hunting too. Maybe not a ton of avail right now, but like we'll chat about that probably later. But so that's kind of when you're kind of chatting about, you know, why bow hunting versus gun hunting and such, like, that is,
it's a longer season. It's not so rushed. I
October is so nice to hunt in.
Dude,
like, to look at those leaves falling, the smell of the woods in October is like, it's just so nice to have an excuse to go and spend 6 hours sitting out there.
Like, and you know what, and I'm gonna probably catch hate for this, but like, I don't even know how to say it without pissing people off, but like, for me, and I think for Islanders in general, we're super spoiled, right? In terms of how few people are here, like, in the fall, except for rifle season, right? Which gets crazy ass busy. But so you go from, and we run a tourist resort, so I mean, I need tourism for my livelihood, and you know, we're famous on the island for having tourism as our only industry, yet we hate tourists, right? And we're all so
funny to see it.
You know, every local's mad at the grocery store taking like whatever. You know what I mean? It's just an island
half
thing,
of us live
right?
Off of it,
and we all do in some way. Well, the same thing with bow hunting is that, like, you hunt for 6 weeks and like there's nobody. This bush is yours. Exactly. All of these deer belong to you because no one else is hunting them.
It's kind of almost like stressful because it's like October 1st. You're like, oh, awesome. Yeah. And then you're like,
all the time in the world.
Literally, like, the end of season in my mind, for especially like, especially this year with those bucks, like, it's like the rifle season gave me so much anxiety. Like, I was thinking, like, my bow season is up to rifle season. It's not after, because, you know, you have no idea, because there's thousands and thousands of people coming. And it's nice to go out and be like, I don't even know if anyone else has their trail cams out right now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You feel like you have such an advantage, and you know what I mean. And then it's one of those things though, where you go back and you check your trail cams, and you're like, oh, that deer got shot. I'm sure it did, because I haven't seen it in 3 weeks, and someone got him, and you're all pissed off, and you're feeling whatever, and then there's nothing like this, because it just happened to us, and it's just so awesome every single time. Is that you go pull your trail cam, before Christmas or whenever, and that frickin' deer showed back up. He's like, where were you?
That happened with both of those big ones we had on camera this year.
Right, and it's just like,
this one of the big ones we have, he leaves for all of bow season actually, and then he comes back right after rifle. So it's like, but it's kind of, because you're like, also like this year I was like, oh, he got hit somewhere in bow season, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then the other one leaves specifically for rifle season and then comes back. Like, it's all bow season, leaves for rifle season, and then comes back and is there for muzzleloader. And that's happened the last 3 years that I've been seeing them.
Well, and you know what? And so that's like intel, right? Like, that's like, okay, so either, and I know we've talked about this, you pattern them all summer, and then you have a real tight window, because as September rolls around and they're moving, right? They lost their velvet, they're establishing their dominance, and they're kicking those other bucks out. They might be still in bachelor groups, but they're still on a feeding routine in that October, first
going back and forth,
week, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can pinpoint them there.
Yeah.
And then for that crazy, third week of November, second week of November, when they're just kind of dumb for a little bit. All over the place, you got some real high possibility of harvesting those deer. And I think focusing your effort on that, and then also knowing, listen, I know that muzzleloader season is our best opportunity. I think when I look at the deer that we've shot in, that we've mounted, like our deer that are big enough to mount, almost all of them are like at the tail end of the season, right?
Because they're hungry now, right?
I put so much work in before, and it's just like, boom.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just move all of my effort to the most productive time. I don't know.
We just talked about how much we like October. You're not going to do that. Yeah.
It's just, there's something about hunting in a t-shirt, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there not being any black flies. Jess is a black fly bear hunter here. And,
and like moose hunting probably for you guys with black flies.
The last few years for moose hunting has been unbelievable in terms of how warm it's been in October.
I think Derek was talking about, especially like this year, he was right. Like he went up, and like the 1 week he takes off for hunting, it was like
you can't
summer
even hunt.
Weather. Yeah.
It's 30 degrees. It's in October. Like in moose season this year, it was 23 degrees.
That's crazy.
And, you know what I mean? Which is way too hot, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, we can all sit at camp, play horseshoes, and drink beer.
Exactly. It's still fun.
It's not a total loss.
Yeah.
So you got some big bucks still on your radar.
Yeah.
Right. You've got your bow dialed in. Mm-hmm. Are you thinking of trying to go after any other game, or is it?
So turkey season, we've done this thing where we have a couple friends that live down south.
Yeah.
And the first year we went to right around Algonquin Park. My friend, I don't know if you know the Oswalds, like John, you know John and Lori Oswald? Yeah. So their daughter Liz, I grew up with her from like JK, and we're best friends. She's actually one of the reasons why I really love hunting. She's been deer hunting since she was like, I don't know, probably like 9 or 10.
She's when Darcy did ballet. Darcy was little, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was the
so she
prima ballet person.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
She's really good at ballet. So I'd go out with her a couple years before I started hunting and got my hunting license. I'd go and sit with her in the deer stand for a couple of days. But so we went to their place and didn't see anything, even though we saw them on the side of the roads, just not where we were hunting.
Right.
But then the next year we decided to go to my other friend's place, and they've got a 1,800 acres dairy farm do you know where Campbellford is?
Refresh my memory.
So it's kind of near like Peterborough, an hour from there.
Okay. Yeah. Like Tweed, all that area, Campbellford. Yeah.
Yes. So
Crazy
1,800
turkey
acres, like between him and his family, right? Because dairy farms are a family business, right? And so just corn out the wazoo that they left over from the year before, beans, everything. It was like so awesome. So that was a different, because near Algonquin Park, we were like in the woods hunting these turkeys, right? But here we're just like like a 500 acre field of corn, right?
Yeah, you can roost those birds and put them to bed, kind of thing.
Exactly.
And then be
So
there
that was interesting. So that was my first year turkey hunting last year. Or sorry, the first 2 years there.
Right.
And so last year it was fun turkey hunting for sure. And I'm like big on I kind of like, I guess, doing things the hard way when we're thinking about compound bow. So I was like, I'm only going to use a mouth call for turkey hunting. I've like never turkey hunted before.
Right.
And then I just started practicing. I should have definitely done it way before, like 2 weeks before. I still got like a lot of gobbles, but I had chatted too about how it was just pouring rain the whole day.
Conditions.
So Jake and Liz, who we were hunting at in Muskoka area, they came with us and we did this they've got both of those, my friends, they had little 1.5-year-olds last year. That was so fun to see them kind of playing around too. And then Jake and Liz went out on the first day, and we went out too. It was sunny, it was nice, and Jake got his first tom, and then there was a couple of Jakes just came flying in when the tom went down, right?
Yeah.
And Liz got a Jake there, and
nice.
And so it was, so they got their two there, and Les and I tried our very hardest to go out in like the thunderstorming rain and figure out, but like I did what I do with deer, where I find a spot and I'm like kind of committed to it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that when you have the blind too and it's pouring rain. You don't want to move a blind around in the rain. So I think we just it was pouring rain and we burnt that spot out for like 3 days. So when we had 1,800 acres. So I'm just thinking we definitely need to move around a lot more.
Mobility is key when turkey hunting, especially if you've got the property to do it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can overpressure a bird and you educate those birds and they'll come all around you, where they just will stay out of range.
And I think that they definitely, we had, especially one morning, like a gobbler going back and forth with us, but I was committed to using this mouth call, and I'm like, I think when he got close enough, I wasn't quite good enough for him to be completely convinced.
No, do you have decoys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dan, Leslie's brother, he used to live in London. He now lives just down the road from us, but he has a really nice one that he put like all feathers on. Like big tom.
Yeah.
So that one's awesome. And then a couple hens and a Jake.
Yeah.
So we had those out, and we had lots of hens coming in.
Right.
And checking it out, but I couldn't get a tom where in view, especially out of the blind and such. I could hear him behind me. I think you probably got it within he sounded like he had started off maybe like 400 yards away in the roost when we got out in that morning. That we
There's nothing
had a lot
like
of
lighting up a
That was
tom,
super
though.
cool.
It's so exciting.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Oh,
and then I think he came within like 100 yards or 50. It was hard to tell. Like they're pretty loud, but like then they get really quiet. Like they move so quick and you can't see them. So
and they can be coming in silent
cool.
too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they don't necessarily act the same way. From one tom to the next. So
I've heard that. Yeah.
It's always a gamble to. Once you got one lit up, what I like to do is if he's still calling, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I try and shut down,
not call quite as much,
call as much, right? Because he's still, he's still coming, and if there's a little bit of a longer gap, then I'll let out a little one. But I can't believe I didn't find turkey hunting until. We started the show, right? Wow. I've only been turkey hunting for 10 years.
Cool.
And it's another addiction. And doing it with a bow, like you're going to get to the point that, you're going to want to do it more and more.
I actually kind of am thinking about bringing my bow. I haven't got a turkey.
Because you have so much that people don't understand. That you can leave your tent window open. The window can be this big, right? And
I'm surprised by that. Yeah.
Turkeys don't, people always like, oh, I got to shoot through the screen. I'm like, no, right? Stay 18 inches back from the window, and that you can get away with murder in there. Literally, you get away with murder, right? Because they just, and they don't react to the blind. You could put that blind out, in a place that they're not used to, and they don't really pay it a whole lot of mind, right? So, I found, especially with I haven't shot a turkey outside of a blind yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With my bow.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's just
too much to bring it back.
It's such a big movement, right?
If it makes me feel better thinking about, because we've got a couple blinds we'll bring in. We brought them last time too, but just because I'm so eager to get that bow into a hunting situation, and I was like, oh, I want to do it, but
so
I feel
the first
like I'm
thing
not going to be able to get
a
away
shotgun.
with it.
So have you shot a turkey yet?
Not yet.
Okay, so shoot a Jake. Whatever legal bird comes in front of you, use a shotgun. Get it out of the way. Yeah. Right. And, you know what I mean? And maybe it's magnificent. Maybe it's got a 12-inch beer. Whatever. You'll be able to answer the question like in June. Did you get a turkey? Yeah, I got one. Yeah, exactly. Right. So there's that. And then you can add the pressure of a bow on your second bird. That's what I was thinking. That's why I'm like, I want to bring. I'll probably bring my bow just to bring it because it's hunting and such. Absolutely. But then I was thinking, I obviously need to get a, because the kill zone's like this, right? Like it's really small.
Yeah, for sure. When you're aiming, right? It was kind of like that with deer too. Like to let myself think about buying a compound bow, I told myself I absolutely had to get a deer with my crossbow within 20 yards, to get a deer in within 20 yards. Because I didn't want to be like, 80 yards, I can get a deer in at 80 yards, right? Yeah. But can I set it up? And so it's almost like the same thing, right? Like, can you actually create the situation without making it much more hard on yourself with using the compound bow?
Yeah, no, I think that's a worthy task to set out in front. Goal is to definitely try and get a turkey this spring. That'll be exciting. And a real fun hunt on the island, even in the spring, is a bear hunt. Right? And a bear hunt with a bow. We were addicted to that. We go up north to do that, but to a bear camp. But once you start that, you open that can of worms of hunting, right? Then it just becomes
opening it.
You're just one season to the next, right? And it's you're gonna have at the farm, you're gonna have a sandhill crane season too.
I saw that's opening up,
right? So
and I think we could even get like a
farm permit.
You get farm permit for that because the bear. This is, I always make fun of myself for this, but I'm so petrified of bears, even though I'm in the woods all the time. Like, I know that there's such a low chance of a black bear attack, but I'm just like inherently so scared of them that I just am like, I don't want to like have karma come my way where I'm shooting black bears.
I know Jess is over there at the computer and he's just chomping to get in on this discussion because he's lived that, being up close and personal with bears.
And even just the fact of like, I'm just, if I shoot a black bear, I'm like, I don't want to send that into the universe where I'm like, coming to get you. Come and get me, bear. I got you. Come and get me. So I'll have to work on that one. But
well, you got the spring bear hunt. The thing is it kind of primes you, early in the season.
To get your thinking hat on.
To just get your thinking hat on, right? And it's awesome. Cool. But you choose your goals.
Honestly,
and your targets.
Turkey hunting gets me going with just thinking like back into that idea of patterning deer too, because I went shed hunting all of last spring around the island. Anywhere I could go, mostly on like the popular trails, but kind of off-roading it to try to find something. I could not find a single antler. I tried like hours and hours and hours and hours. And then we went to this farm, right? And there's corn that stayed up. And I'm like, where would a deer want to be, right? Yeah. And we found like 3 really decent sheds in in a day, I think Jake found one, Leslie found one, I found one, and then I found a half one that had been broken off. But that was cool too, to be like, oh, like, not like on the island where you're like, these are where the deer should be because they yarded here, and like this is where they bed, and then I'm not finding anything, but like this looks like a deer bed, this looks like, you know, their pathway to food, and then you find an antler just like that. Like that was really cool. So I'm actually going for like 2 days up to there to like just shed hunt, because I think it's so cool to
that's
find
awesome
that too, so.
Actually, it would be easy to shed hunt right now with the weather we've been having here.
I've been
it is
trying to think of where I can.
We ice fished this week, this weekend, walked out, we got a couple dozen perch, but even walking in at the end of the day, we were like, ooh, that looks, I'm walking around that spot. You know, it is a treacherous ice season right now, and hopefully it tightens up. And
I saw a lot of photos of the bays right now, and because of what we've had, a lot of the snow's off. So hopefully, because it looks like it's getting cold soon.
Well, that's good. That is a good thing that the snow got knocked down by that mild weather, because we did have too much. We had too much snow on a little bit of ice. So, you know, hopefully we get a couple of weeks. We have a couple of derbies that we want to hit. One's up in Elliott Lake, and one in Sudbury, and then one here on the island. So, you know, we actually have Luke on an upcoming podcast. We're going to shoot it this week and talk a little bit about the derby. That's coming up in February. But so in terms of, we always end up at the end of our podcast, we do a rosebud thorn. So basically a rose is, you know, something that you know has got your blood flowing, something that you're really excited that or happy to share. A bud is something that you know, you're looking forward to, and then a thorn is something that's like, it is a thorn in my side right now, but you know, it's kind of something that you're working on. What would you say your rosebud thorn would be?
Rose for, in terms of hunting,
in terms of whatever,
hunting, just because it's fun to talk about, would be the fact that in the last couple of weeks, I've been walking around our little 11 acres that we have wooded on our property. And my dad and I did a lot of work to get that a little bit better for deer. I kicked the cows off, didn't let cows on. We did some hinge cutting and just kind of let things grow up. And I have counted 19 rubs so far, which, like, 19 rubs from nothing, like no deer sign whatsoever, right? So that's like a huge rose. I'm so pumped about that. Like really decent sized rubs too. So, and that was just out of the blue. I think it's from the habitat restoration, but also the winter wheat being around. But I just had left it alone. I hadn't really gone back there this year. I didn't hunt it a lot either. So I just finding that was a huge rose for this year. Like to finish off the season of being like, there was a buck in here, and like,
it seems silly when
you have deer all the time, but when you go from a farm that's like mostly just weeds and pasture that deer don't like to be on, and to something like that, finding 19, that was so cool. Bud is definitely the compound bow, and that kind of thought of going forward in the season, because I got that bow like right after the season ended, so I didn't even have I wouldn't have brought it out anyways because I needed to practice, but like the thought of having that for the season. So next year, I'm just super, super excited for that. A thorn would I went deerless this season. I didn't get anything. Tag soup. And Les saw that big buck that we've been after, and he looked, unfortunately, really skinny on camera in muzzleloader. And his antlers got, like, he had a lot of kickers last year. I think I showed you. Do you remember that big tall one? Yeah. He was way smaller this year, so I'm like, he's on his downhill, right?
Downslide.
And so I was like, oh man, it would have been so awesome if Les could have gotten that deer when she saw him there. And so, but in a way, like, because that's like, that was a thorn for both of us. Like, Les is still, like, I think trying to get over that, to be honest, because like it's probably maybe the biggest deer she's ever gonna see for like the rest of her life. Maybe you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, I hear you, 100%.
So she's a little stressed about that, but I think like making that into kind of a positive point is the fact that I was trying to get that deer in front of one of us.
Yeah.
And like the fact that it's only my third year hunting and I could get like a deer of that caliber front in daylight in front of a stand that we prepped and did all that. And so I'm actually, it's kind of like
someone had a weapon of like they could have, it could have happened.
Yeah. If it had worked out a little bit better for shot placement, but I mean, obviously the smartest idea for not taking a frontal shot when his head was bobbing down. Right. And so,
no, that's good. That's awesome.
So I think that those would be my three. So
awesome. Yeah. Those are three great ones.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's been great to talk to you. I'm awesome. Excited for you.
Thank you.
Excited, you know, when you start asking questions about, you know, okay, I need your advice on, and you shoot me a text like this freaking deer, or like, what do we do? I love having those conversations. So
I'm like, am I annoying Neil again tonight?
No, you keep those texts coming, and cool. and then I get to share a little bit in that success when it does happen, because it will.
Yeah.
I have no doubt of that. You're a passionate person. You're an islander. I know my brother loves, you know, your expertise and your professionalism when it comes to your professional career. So kudos to that. You know, the best of luck with the flower farm. Thanks. I know you've got a new customer coming with Jess. Like, you know, he's going to keep you in business. And it's just a pleasure to talk to you. So continue to
awesome.
Fuel your passion and fuel the fire and get outdoors. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.